Okay, sorry we're running a little bit late. That's totally on me. You ever get that feeling you bit off more than you can chew?
No. Never.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to start the OSAY session in a couple of minutes. So if anyone is interested in, I don't know, the future of the state, this might be relevant to you. So this is a session for people who are interested in civic engagement, pestering their local politicians to do good things, and using social media in order to do that. We're going to hear from 3 really cool West Virginians who created something terrific recently called OSAY. Who's going to frame OSAY and give us a bit of an introductory speak about it? What is OSAY? Talk us through it.
We'll jump straight into it. Hey, my name is Encore. I'm born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia. I currently attend school, actually, here at WVU. I'm an industrial engineer. I don't really know what that means, but I do web technology stuff. And once I graduate next year, I will continue to do web technology stuff. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, my name is Jen Sussman. I'm a co-founder of 84 Agency. And 84 Agency is a small agency that essentially caters to nonprofits and organizations that are trying to do good in their local communities. So we do communications work and problem solving with those kinds of organizations. We've been in business for 5 years. And so the principals are myself and my partner, Carly.
Yeah, we founded 84 Agency, and we're based in Charleston now, back in 2012. I am not originally a West Virginian. I'm a West Virginian by choice. So I'm from north of Boston, and I bring my New England attitude to West Virginia and try to use it for good. But so the 3 of us have been working at 84 Agency together, and one of our side projects has been OSAY. So we're going to talk to you about our web mobile instant advocacy tool. Yeah, so OSAY just started with an idea, and so I'm going to kind of set the scene for you guys. In 2016, Jen and I and Ankur, we were working with a number of clients who were trying to fight a piece of legislation that was introduced in January 2016 called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. I don't know if anybody remembers it. It was highly contentious. Yeah, there's some opposition here making itself known. It's the same bill that was introduced and passed in North Carolina and in Indiana, and to a national backlash. So West Virginia was trying it on for size in 2016, and a lot of the clients that we work with, Fairness West Virginia Free, Generation West Virginia, they were in opposition to the bill, and they wanted to basically spur a grassroots movement in opposition to the bill and kill it. So we were the comms team, effectively, that tried to bring it down just through regular communications from constituents to lawmakers. You know, we didn't have high-powered lobbyists that like the other side did, and so what we needed to use was grassroots tools. So it's January 2016. We're seeing a lot of engagement on Twitter, on Facebook, a lot of like enthusiasm from people in opposition to the bill. There's a lot of people talking to each other and just like sharing their piece on social media, but not actually directing that towards their legislators. So maybe communicating with a friend or just putting it out there in the world with a hashtag. Legislators weren't seeing these communications. There was a disconnect. There was a hole in the market. We were being contacted by a number of organizations saying, hey, do you guys have a list of all the handles for these delegates and senators? Like, where do I find that information? Where is it organized? And nobody had a list. That was just a kind of hole in the market. And so we thought to ourselves, like, okay, wait, if our clients would benefit from something that would close this hole, that would make this easier to tweet right at your delegate or right at your senator, a message that makes sense, that a campaign person would communicate, a unified message, why can't we make that? Can we come up with some way to make this a possibility? So Jen and I called Ankur up, because Ankur does a lot of web development for us, and we said, hey, is there like software that we can use to close this gap?
So I mean, this is jumping back to like last December, last winter, and I get this call, and it's like, we need people to be able to instantly advocate to their legislators. I'm like, cool, okay, this is great. This is a problem. And for the developers in the crowd, the moment you get a problem, you say, yes, I can do it, having no idea if you can do it, actually. So for me, it's like, I broke this down into as few problems that I could so that I could build it as fast as I could. I came up, we settled on two main issues. It's like, one, how do you tweet for somebody? Can you tweet for somebody? How do you make that easy? And then two, how do we tell people who their delegates are? I mean, those are two technological problems that we had to solve in 4 to 5 days because we wanted this instantly. Luckily, the first problem, Twitter offers a really easy sharer link. So it's something like twitter.com/sharer/ and at that point, you can just URL encode a message, and that will be like an intended tweet. You've certainly seen it before, and we'll show you how that looks later on. And then the second problem, how do we tell people who their delegates and senators are? Well, remember, we had 4 to 5 days, and so we had absolutely no time to second-guess ourselves or to do real quality research. So we took a guess. We're like, okay, zip codes, those have something to do with location. We know what those are. And so we said, let's just categorize every delegate and every senator by the zip codes they serve. Turns out there was some overlap and this and that. And truth be told, turns out it's like, it doesn't work. Zip codes does not align with districts. Districts, if you've seen the maps, look crazy. They do not align. But that was the spirit of the game at this point. You know, we had 5 days maybe to build this, and so we said, whatever. We're going to keep going with zip codes. We just have to keep moving forward. So we built a little prototype that basically allowed people to click a button and tweet at quote unquote their representative about House Bill 412.
Yeah, so the prototype was called Parachute, and we thought about, maybe like an oppositional force that would launch in the night, and all of a sudden the legislators would wake up to all these tweets from people in their districts and say, what happened? Oh my gosh, like apparently people really care about this. So we launched it very simply, simple logo, simple interface, and we got it up and running because every moment during the legislative session was an impactful moment or a missed opportunity. So we had to get it up and running. And in less than 20 days, we had over 323 actions. People were using it. We even had some great feedback, like a 65-year-old woman said, hey, I've never used Twitter before. I had no idea why I would need an account. I tweeted using the app, and it was easy, and I'm going to do it again. So it was a huge victory. We were super excited. The bill ultimately went down in flames because of that grassroots movement in opposition to it. So we had, this really great moment in our development. But afterwards, so the session ended, and we thought, okay, that was fun, but that was really only one campaign on one issue. And the whole goal of this, closing this hole in the market is to allow people to launch their own campaigns. But that would mean that we would need a back end and a dashboard and a user interface and a way to pay and do all this stuff. So we had to change the platform. Do you want to talk about it? Yeah.
So we took a couple months, and we knew we wanted to reimagine what this tool could be. Over that time, the country experienced a really tumultuous a national election, right? And out of that national election, we've seen a wellspring of digital technologies that have been built for new activists and new advocates. And so we see ourselves really positioned within that sort of stream of new technologies. And that's really exciting. It's really exciting to be a part of that. So we took the time and we scrapped all of our old branding, and we we became informed by the new movement, and that's how we became OSAY. Yeah.
And there were things here that we had to completely redo. So zip codes, those don't get you your delegates. So we had to rewrite a system that would use Google Maps API to use an address to actually locate it. And now we use congressional maps from the Secretary of State's office. So everything we do has to be real data that perfectly matches, because if we're telling people we're going to find their representatives, we actually have to do that.
And gerrymandering is real, so we have to be cognizant of the sort of crazy district lines that are out there. Yeah.
The other thing that we learned in the research process was that phone calls to legislators is also one of the most important and impactful elements of advocacy. So Twitter was great because it's kind of like the gateway drug to taking action on an issue. It's also a public record. So because you are tweeting at one of your representatives, that public record is out there in the world, and people know that you're talking about an issue and advocating on it. But phone calls make an impact. If you flood an office with phone calls, people know that that is an important issue. So we wanted to add that feature on. So it's also now the OSAY platform does phone call scripts and tweets. Yeah.
So we learned all of this after that really rushed beta of Parachute, which we thought was so important. The fact that we got it out there, we were able to get those interactions, we learned all of this, and because of that, we were able to evolve to a point where we have OSAY.
Yeah, so we launched OSAY in February 2017 in its full form that you see now, and you can go online and create your own campaigns, and we're going to do a little demonstration in a moment. But we launched it during this past session, which focused mainly on the budget. So unlike the 2016 legislative session, which was heavy on the social justice issues that are pretty contentious and get people's enthusiasm and engagement, this past session was really different. So we learned a lot more about how to try to engage people when maybe the issues are not as social justice oriented, so we had a kind of compressed session. I really want to show how the actual campaign creation works. So Ankur is going to take us through.
Sweet. So everyone, at any point, you can go to osay.co. That's where our web app lives. It works on phones. It works on desktops, anything you need. And we do have plans for an app version soon. So I want to take you through what it's like to find a campaign and actually advocate before we make a campaign. So we have a huge catalog of different campaigns related to West Virginia. Let's say I'm interested in the environment. I'll find this OSAY campaign that was about House Bill 2506. It was about allowing companies to dump certain chemicals into public waterways. I'm from Charleston. I lived through the water crisis. I don't want it to happen again, so I'm going to advocate for this. Any user, basically, they type in their full address at this point. That's how we can actually locate their particular representatives. That's my home address. I click it, and these are all of my representatives automatically located. Senator Tom, he's part of my district, and if I want to tweet to him, all I have to do is click this button. It comes up, and I've tweeted, and that's it. I've advocated directly to Tom Tuckaboo in 5 seconds. So that's the gist of it. That's what we're trying to do. So let's show how easy it is to make those campaigns, because we can all do this.
Yeah, so when you hit the page, osay.co, you have the option to create your own campaign. So this would be somebody who has an issue that they care about, not necessarily someone who runs an organization, maybe someone who's part of a group of people who are upset about a certain issue. So you hit the landing page and you say, I want to start a campaign. Right now it's only available in West Virginia, but we have plans to launch it in every state. So if you're in West Virginia, you're in luck. So today what we did is we actually queued up some content to do a gratitude campaign for the WV Hub for hosting the event. So we're going to launch that today live so that you guys can go on the link and then actually tweet out and show a little gratitude to the Hub. But yeah, so what a campaign creator would need is to go through this form, and all you need your information. You need a campaign title, a campaign description, and then you get to the tweet simulator that we thought was a pretty cool feature, because when you're about to launch a campaign and have tons of people potentially advocating on your behalf, knowing exactly how it's going to appear on Twitter and how it's going to appear to the legislators is important. So that language, you type it in, and there's a little tweet character counter on the right-hand side. Handles vary in length. Some of the legislators have, incredibly long names. So we wanted to make sure that everybody's tweet would work. So there are some limitations there. So hopefully it guides people properly through the process. And then, yeah, you type in a phone script, and you can preview your campaign right there. So that's basically what your campaign page would look like. So there's no need to have your own website. It all lives on this platform. And yeah, so here's the back end of OSAY. So this is another example of a campaign. You can kind of see the blue represents tweets. So the number of tweets on the left-hand side, on the left axis over time. And what we really saw throughout the legislative session is like the more active the campaign manager is, the more results they get. Twitter is like an instantaneous, like kind of crazy chat room that's like basically happening in one instance, and then like in another minute, like the issue is over. So you have to keep it up. And those people that ran campaigns over the legislative session, if they were really committed to their issue, they got a lot of traction. And
so
yeah.
In that period of maybe 3 minutes, we explained how to do it and created an actual campaign that you can do right now. If you go to tiny.cc/OSAY on your phone, this is the campaign to say thank you to the West Virginia Hub, because they're putting on this wonderful free event for us.
Yeah.
Right? You have to do it. And I'll actually go through it on the computer screen as well, because this can be a positive thing. This can be thank you for supporting this bill. This can be please support this bill. The platform can be anything, but the goal is to reduce those barriers of communication, reduce that advocacy barrier. So if I go to tiny.cc/OSAY, it brings me to that campaign that we just built. And I actually already did it, so I have to. And a lot of the things we focused on is like, how do we reward users for doing this? Like, are people going to want to advocate? How do we make this fun and easy? So we found one lawmaker, quote unquote, right now it's just the hub. And it's easy. I can tweet at them. Oh, I already tweeted this actually. And then I can call them and it has a script. And once you've completed all your actions, there's a little surprise for you.
You get a party.
You get a
Way
party.
Way to go. Yeah. Celebrating you, the advocate. Yeah, yeah. So that's the platform. So, we created this platform in beta, ran it, launched it, got a lot of attention, felt really successful, re-envisioned the platform, made it feel more modern and current, and then relaunched it, and we're still working on it. So during the legislative session in 2017, this past session, we had over 1,200 actions. We had almost like 20 campaigns launch, and the lion's share of them actually achieved their goals. Either they killed legislation they didn't like, or they passed legislation they wanted to see passed. So that was really successful. But what's really exciting to us is that West Virginia is tiny. It's like 1.6 million people. When we go national and we have this platform available in every state, that's a potential of like over 60,000 actions. So we're excited and we're working towards that goal. We're very hopeful. We're also just working towards the goal. Like, we are being informed constantly by feedback coming from all over the place. We're doing focus groups, but we want to see real people in real situations who care about real things give us actual feedback. That's the most helpful. So we thought, I know Jake's got a bunch of questions, but we also wanted to maybe throw out some questions of our own. So here are 3 areas that we thought maybe would be interesting, because we're interested in how you guys actually reach your lawmakers. Like, are you waiting on an organization to send you a link to take action, or are you picking up the phone and calling them directly? How about the pricing? So we haven't talked about pricing yet, but for $39 for a campaign, you can launch your own campaign. It's free to take action. So those were the kind of the prices that we came up with. And then also, like, is it possible for us to be a nonpartisan platform? Really, we look pretty progressive, I think, based on our branding. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And is it possible to be like on both sides of an issue? I'm not totally sure. And so we'd love to hear from you guys about that. But yeah.
To reach you, it was tiny.cc. But can you put that back, because I didn't get that.
Yeah, so this is that campaign that we're thanking the hub.
Which is just a wonderful cause.
I've heard it's a good organization. I don't know many of the people that work with it.
Oh, remarkable. Thank you, guys. That's awesome. Great demo.
In the back there. Sorry, I'm taking your job, Jay.
So I use a lot of these types of apps. I started using them more after the election. but I use daily action,
Yeah.
5 calls. I can't remember the rest, but none of them are monetized as far as like charging. And I really like the idea of the way that you've set this up because it's super cool. But you know, is it possible to make money off this? I mean, you're hoping to, but
I mean, that's the wonderful thing. We don't know. We haven't so far. Right now, we're bootstrapping everything. We haven't taken on any funding. We haven't done any fundraising. We're paying for it ourselves. So we don't know, and that's one of the reasons we're here today is to talk about that.
The interesting thing about like daily action, right? They're a pack, right? So they're collecting your information and they're sending you information. But that's a lot about data mining. And I think the difference is, there are 2 differences for me, right? Those like technologies are amazing. I use them too. Those are really focused toward a national audience. I think the strength that lies in our technology is that I'm really interested in state action, municipal action, local action, because I think that's where we can make the most difference. Yeah.
And we also wanted to think, we said, okay, could we make this free? We had an hour, 2-hour long discussion with pros and cons on both sides of the issue. If you make it free, are we going to end up with thousands of campaigns about junk? Like, where's the barrier to entry? Do people, like, is it going to be a joke? We didn't want the platform to get like cluttered with kind of fake campaigns targeting a legislator for something dumb. If you pay, you know, $2.20, it's like $40 to launch your own campaign. You care enough that it makes it serious. So if you look at like daily action, yeah, that's free. But Salsa Labs is another advocacy platform that a lot of nonprofits use. Every Action is another one. They cost thousands of dollars to set up. So there's like setup fees, then monthly fees. And a lot of the time, nonprofits that want to advocate for issues don't have thousands of dollars in setup money. And so what we were trying to do is not just make a tool for organizations, but also make a tool for a group of like, you know, moms who are mad about how they can't breastfeed in public or something. So it's like they don't have a nonprofit. They're not 501c3. They don't have, you know, $15,000 to launch Razor's Edge. So you could use an OSAY, and you got a shareable action link that you can just tweet to other people, text message, email, iMessage, whatever, and your campaign is right there in a box. When you post your campaign link to Facebook, it auto-populates that picture that you uploaded and the title of your campaign and your description. So for that like little amount of money, you get a lot of, you know, functionality, but also we wanted to make sure that you were serious too. Sure.
Couldn't it be a situation where there's like, I mean, I've seen this in a lot of other types of applications that are similar, where it's like, contact us, let us know who you are and why you're doing this, so that if a 3rd grade class wants to start a campaign, you can without paying $40. You know?
One of the things we've talked about building out, the Create portion of our app is going to be going under an overhaul. We're going to be changing up how we do it, and one of the things we would love to do is like a sponsored project. So like apply for a sponsored project. Like, do you have a cause that you feel that you could apply for a free one? And absolutely, we're all about that. We just don't have like a systematic way to let people apply yet. So sort of where we've landed on that pricing conversation is do allow sponsored projects, self-made projects at the low cost, and then also we would make some for people as like a service. So we're trying to like hit everybody with that.
Yeah, even during the legislative session this past year, we made it so easy. We were like, oh my gosh, we're not going to have to work. We launched this platform and people are going to build their own campaigns. This is, as comms people, we're like, this is amazing. And we still got phone calls that said, can you spend your time, set up the campaign for me and launch a mini website? And it was like, well, that's going to cost money. And when we priced it out, they were like, that's fine. Here's the money. So there's still some kind of like business model out there where people just don't want to do that work. And like as comms professionals, like we're here to do that work. And that's fine. I would love to just like make money in the background. And so the more we can figure out how to empower people to create their own campaigns, the better. But that could be still part of our model.
Do you screen your campaigns, and what happens if somebody has a campaign like "Bring Back Stockades to WV.com"?
So, I mean, you want a community guidelines?
Yeah, we maintain community guidelines. So if something falls outside of those guidelines, we have the ability to just zap those campaigns and
and refund the people that paid for them. Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to be clear. I don't want you to think that I don't think this isn't worth the money.
Oh no, totally,
we already
totally.
think you're
But the reason why, all right, so thank you for explaining that 5 actions is a pack. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But, all right, so then I would think strategically. I mean, because I might pay $1.99 a month, right? Like, just give you my credit card for you to just charge me. But I don't know if I would want to put out $40. So, I mean, I'm just asking you to think about it because I think it's a really great tool and I'm really excited about it. And I understand the importance of not having like quack campaigns. Like if you look at like the White House with their petitions, every now and then they'll get a really crazy one that's
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know if there's anything you can do to stop crazy. If you think about it, I will give you money to do that. But in any case, that was just my concern because I think what Glennis was talking about too was like, how do you get the moms like. Most moms who want to start a breastfeeding campaign might think twice about spending an extra $40, but they might be okay with it kind of coming out serially.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, we are not set in stone on our pricing monetization model yet.
Yeah.
We're just not. And so that's a great idea that I hadn't really thought of.
And a lot of it's got to be, too, that until you can show, oh, these people changed the law, right? Oh, that's worth $40. But if you're like, I don't really know what I'm paying for. I had a question. I'm really glad Crystal is here. As kind of one of the first people in West Virginia to draw attention to, hey, lawmakers should be listening to people on social media. Like this is also a community place where you're supposed to listen and talk. And having done some work with Crystal where I scrolled through the Twitter feeds of every state delegate, worst day of my life.
Yeah.
Worst day of my life. And
For a good cause, though.
Yeah. My question is, have you seen or do you hope to see state lawmakers, I guess, just use that as an example, more responsive and more aware of their social media feeds and their Twitter feeds?
There is a very small handful of legislators at the Capitol that don't have Twitter handles. I would say there are like 10. And then the constituents that we've heard from who live in their districts are supremely disappointed that they don't have Twitter handles. So, you know, as we see more and more lawmakers of the millennial age and like millennials get into office, these things are commonplace and ubiquitous. So I think that there are also a handful of lawmakers that are incredibly active on Twitter. We were interviewed during the session about if this tool actually will make an impact, and they interviewed Senator Ryan Fearns, who's the majority leader in the Senate, and he said he's very active on Twitter, and he said, yeah, I get tweets and I pay attention to them. That's how people want to communicate with me, so I'm listening. So that's impact right there.
For me, the really cool moment, I was using it to advocate for something, and I got a reply from a lawmaker, and I thought that was really cool because I was having a conversation with a lawmaker who I would never talk to otherwise.
Yeah. Cool. Crystal.
So I love the tool, and but I feel a pain in not so much reaching out to the legislators. I mean, this is that. So let's say that's solved. But the pain is in getting outside of your own social media echo chamber to get the message to a wider audience. So I just wonder what kind of thought you've put in that, or it's something I'm thinking about because it's sort of like my Facebook feed is the same people. The Twitter is the same people. I am big on trying to diversify my timeline, so I'm following different people. That's just, personal. But I think for advocacy, we really, really get into an echo chamber with that. And so your message, you think it's going big, but it's really kind of going to the same old, same old. So that's something I'm thinking about as far as social media. The other thing, I'm just kind of curious about how you guys handle campaigns that are in political opposition of how you feel. So,
Those are really different questions. Yeah.
I would say that
the virality one, because it has the link.
Yeah.
So one of the things for breaking down those, there are certainly follower circles. But with that tweet, for me, the most important part of the tweet comes at the very end where there's a link to the campaign. And our hope is that you'll tweet once, 2 people of your friends will click on it, they'll tweet the same tweet. So then we're creating that unified message. So it's not only that one tweet that's put out in the world, we want it to be almost like a viral effect. And so your followers that tweet it are going to tweet it to their followers, who will tweet it to their followers, and that is how I hope that's how we break out of those follower circles, because your friend may have different people than you, and you may have different people than them, and so by keeping that message the same, but like encouraging people to continuously do it on their own account, not just retweets, we're hopefully reaching a much wider audience with the same message.
And, sure, there are definitely silos. There's no question about that. But there are complacent supporters within silos. We want to make sure that everyone has the ability to wake up and participate in a campaign in like 3 clicks or less, right? So the more barriers we break down, the simpler we make it, the more democratic the tool can be.
And to answer your question about adversarial or campaigns of another politic, we envisioned OSAY to be a truly democratic platform. So there's no check your politics at the door or progressives only sign hanging on the OSAY platform. What we are finding about our Take Action page is that because of our own networks and our own silos, and the type of clients that we work with, we appear incredibly progressive, and it's obvious just looking at the tiles of the campaigns. But we did have some really interesting things happen during the legislative session. Some people who are potential customers came to us privately and said, "Can I launch a private campaign that's not featured on your website and doesn't have the OSAY link at the end?" And that was a really interesting change to the product. It wasn't a conservative, extreme right-wing campaign, but it was a little bit more conservative than the ones that were appearing on the website. So we're super open. We accommodated for that, and we helped them launch during the session, and they were successful in their goals, reaching their goals. But we're really open to seeing what this platform can do for people. Especially when you get down, hopefully, we want to launch nationally and then launch at the municipal level and then even enter custom targets. So you can really hyper target your campaign. We want to see that happen, and partisan politics kind of falls apart at that level. At the municipal level, it's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about how to treat the water plant in a it's about boring governance, and that's exciting. So yeah.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is yes, I want it to all be progressive. I do, and I do, but then if we really accomplish our goal of reducing the barrier to advocacy, that might be good for everybody. I mean, whether you're Republican or Democrat, if you're truly able to be an advocate on behalf of your beliefs and your friends' beliefs and actually directly calling your lawmakers, that's huge. That's huge for every party, and it's really important. And I think everyone needs to step up their level of activism.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Again, to keep News Story moving quick, if you want to talk to these guys some more, they're obviously smart as heck. Isn't it great who's in West Virginia? I mean, you scratch the surface and it's pretty impressive. So we're going to have another 5 or so minute break. The next session is kind of like the headline. It's 100 days. It's the folks from WVU and public broadcasting talking about how they changed the face of reporting in Appalachia in the sort of post-Trump era. So hang around. 5 or 10 minutes, please. A round of applause for these awesome people.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
You want to stay for a second? Let them.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That was great.
nice job.